Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with Suits, Season 7, Episode 8, Episode 100. Alright, so Episode 100 of Suits. So, pretty cool. I've been, I think I said this in the last one, but I've been with this show, I think, since Season 3 or 4. I think Season 3. So yeah. So I'm really happy to see them reach 100. Really, just happy for them. They really deserve it. Aaron Korsh or Krosh or Aaron Korsh, I think is his name. The creator of it. Congratulations to him. Is in order. Anytime a show reaches episode 100, it's a huge deal, right? I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, and yeah. So big congratulations to him. Congratulations to the cast: Gabriel Mott, Patrick J. Adams. I mean, Gina Torres, she's not on it anymore. Sarah Rafferty, Meghan Markle. So, just everyone involved with the show, just a congratulations. Even if you're not a huge fan of the show or whatever, when they reach 100 episodes, that's a big deal. So you got to congratulate them. And yeah, so I thought this episode was good overall. The rate, I gave it a pretty high rating, just because episode 100, and I'm pretty happy about it. And all that, but yeah, so not bad. I will share some of my thoughts at the end, of course, but now I'll get into the recap for this, and this is a little bit later because just for episode 100, I wanted to really think about this one a little bit, and as well, I missed it on Wednesday night, so I had to go and find the episode. And so I just watched a couple days ago instead of Wednesday night like I usually do, right? So that's why the Sinner review is first as well. And yeah, so I just wanted to do this for episode 100. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get into this recap of this episode. So Harvey goes to Robert Zane at his house there, and it was kind of a funny scene. He gives him the case against Reform Corp. And so we know Harvey's up to something here, and so he drops out the files there, and Robert says it'll be his case if he takes it. Harvey cannot tell him how to run it because we've seen that in the past. Harvey will get Robert Zane on board, and then he'll just tell him what to do, right? So Robert says he's going to take it seriously, and Harvey's not going to tell him what to do. And yeah, it was just a really smart thing by Robert to finally say that to Harvey, and recognize that. So yeah, that was good. So then Harvey goes to Roger, and so Roger is the I think it was the CEO or the head of Reform Corp. I forget. I think it was Roger Shapiro. I think is his name. So he goes to him, says he will take care of it. Of the case that Robert Zane now has, but obviously Roger doesn't know that Harvey gave the case to him. So he says he'll take care of it. We kind of figure out Harvey's side of this, that he's totally just shafting this guy, right? Totally screwing him over and working with Robert behind the scenes, when meanwhile he's Roger's lawyer, which is obviously pretty illegal, but what Reform Corp's doing is illegal as well. So then Robert walks in on this meeting, gives Roger a settlement offer, and it's a huge number, obviously, and Robert knows that he's not going to accept it, but just sort of a feeler sort of thing. Roger declines, of course, and Robert threatens that Frank Gallo will testify, that he's going to get him to testify, and Roger tells Harvey, that he better find a way to make Gallo, not testify, or he will find someone else who can. And this kind of quote comes back later in the episode as well, and is kind of a big one. So yeah, definitely Harvey, some high stakes for him now. So then Lewis goes to the Columbia campus. Also, I just want to say some of this stuff's going to be out of order. I kind of paired scenes together, so that's that. But they figure out, he tries to figure out why they didn't send an applicant to the firm from Columbia. He thinks it might be about Mike Ross still, right? The whole fraud thing. So, that's that's a big deal if it is. He wants to straighten it out. And it's just a classic Lewis scene, right? He just barges right in, and talks bad to the receptionist and whatever. So that was kind of funny. And surprisingly, he opens the door and he finds Sheila, Sheila Zaz. I love that name, by the way. Anyways, all the names like regarding Lewis are all like Sheila Zaz, and then we have Dr. Lipschitz. I mean, like, where do they come up with these names? I don't know. But he finds Sheila, and she tells him that she didn't send an applicant because she didn't want him to know she was at Columbia now, and she tells him that she's getting married in a couple weeks to a guy. So obviously this is kind of hits hard because like she told Lewis that she didn't want to move from Harvard or something at the beginning, that she still wanted to work there. So I don't really know, what's changed. Obviously, this guy may be better than Lewis, and that's why she's getting married and moving from Harvard to Columbia. So yeah, it is what it is. But really cool to see her character back in it, and of course she comes back later in the episode as well. So then Donna meets with Mark, the guy that we saw in last episode from the flashback. And they were together for 6 months in that flashback we saw. And yeah, so they basically, they have some great chemistry. And this is, at lunch, they have some great chemistry, find out that Mark is actually married. So kind of messed up, right? Why would he go out for lunch with her if he is married? And she was kind of, feeling like, some chemistry as well to him, maybe that he wanted to, rekindle the relationship. And yeah, so we find out he's married. So, but he says unhappily, so, he obviously wants out of it, but, they're not separated, so, right, like, it's still an affair. But he still wants to spend time with Donna, even though he's married like this, so it's kind of messed up, I think, but, maybe if he's unhappily married, he just wants someone, to talk to and whatever, so, yeah, that's that, but Donna obviously, isn't for that, and she leaves. So then Donna and Lewis have a moment with each other on the rooftop. There's some comedic lines shared here back and forth. Like Donna says, "I don't want you to jump" or something, and that was kind of funny. I was actually thinking about that when I saw Lewis on the roof there. I'm like, what is he gonna do or whatever? But yeah. So I thought it was a great bonding scene between them. And it's funny because, at this point in the episode, both are going through, the exact same things, right? They have their ex coming back, and the exes kind of want to get back together sort of thing, and they're both getting married, or they both are with someone. So, yeah, I just thought it was a really well done parallel, here between Lewis and Donna this episode, how, the two storylines were kind of, constantly going, and then eventually they meet at the end. But yeah, I just really liked that part of this episode. I thought it was really, really well done. And yeah, I think that, yeah, it was just great for the writers to do something like that with both these characters who don't really have that big of a storyline right now in the show. So, because neither are for the cause of Reform Club or Masterson, that big thing. So, they got to have something else. And I thought this was a really good way of showing that. And this is the first time I've been interested in Donna's character, like, this whole season. So that's saying something. So then we see Tom Bratton show up at the trial. He says that he'll take the case over for Reform Corp if Harvey doesn't keep Gallo from testifying. And, he says that if he tries the case, he will definitely take down Alex Williams. He will not be leaving him out. And also, Alex signed that agreement or the affidavit, right? So Tom Bratton's not, not in it at all anymore, so he can do whatever he wants, and he won't be able to be, prosecuted or whatever. So definitely, we kind of have that, that sort of like the goal for him not to get the case, right? Because Harvey doesn't want Alex to go down. No one does, really. So then Harvey uses the photos that Gallo gave Mike in season 6, and that's kind of a cool flashback here. And he says that Frank threatened Robert with the pictures, and to I guess for him to get Frank to testify or something. So it was interesting, really smart way to kind of spin it around. Obviously it's complete lies, right? That's not the truth at all. But it seems really realistic to a judge and a jury, right? That could happen. So yeah, and then afterwards, Robert finds Harvey in the bathroom, and another bathroom fight scene. Oh my gosh! Like at the time, I'm like, I think it's gonna be a fight. They're in the bathroom, right? Like this show is crazy. I mean, every time we see someone in the bathroom, there's some shit about to go down, right? Like every time. So that was kind of funny to see another fight scene. And this one was real serious. I mean, we have seen ones worse than this with Lewis and Harvey, I think, before. And I think Harvey and Travis Tanner as well. Yeah, so really, Robert's about to punch Harvey out, about to knock him out, really. Like, he had him right up against the wall. Mike walks in, saves Harvey's ass, and tells him that Rachel came up with the idea, not them. So, if Robert wants to take it up with someone, take it up with your own daughter, who was the one who agreed to do this with the pictures. Mike and Harvey had no, obviously they went through with it, but they didn't come up with the idea. So, Robert kind of recognizes that, and he walks out and lets Harvey go. I think it would have been a really actually good fight to see Robert and Harvey. I mean, I think it would have been. I mean, Harvey does boxing, man. Robert's a big guy, yep, and I'm sure he can probably take Harvey, but I think it'd be a pretty close fight. I would have liked to see it go down, to be honest. But anyways, so then Sheila calls Lewis, and this was interesting as well. That she kind of comes, back, and she calls Lewis, tells him to come one last time to her hotel room before she gets married in 2 weeks. So she's engaged, right? But I mean, that's still cheating, of course, and probably an affair as well. So big thing there. And I mean, we all know, and Lewis knows, that what's going to happen in that hotel room, right? It's going to be more than just talking or whatever. So, of course. So, but then also we see the scene after Mark calls Donna and asks her to come to his hotel room because he's leaving in 2 days. But he's here in business, so his wife and his family isn't actually here. So they would be perfectly alone and safe. So yeah, this kind of just shows the parallel storylines again, and I like that they do this back-to-back scenes. So we kind of are setting up, for big things in the rest of the episode. So then Harvey goes to the judge's house. I didn't even recognize him at first. I had no idea who he was going to talk to, but I kind of figured it out. So he confronts the judge about the case. He brings up Frank Gallo, right? And the judge says, stop right there, and whatever. So, we kind of think it's, some dramatic thing happened. But all of a sudden, the judge tells him that Frank Gallo is dead. So this was a big thing. Huge thing this episode. And the judge says he was murdered in his cell last night. So, wow, right? I mean, and then Harvey, I think, says something else, and then the judge says it's time to let him rest in peace. So, Harvey's speechless, of course, after this. The facial expression Gabriel Mock made in that scene was great. I mean, it was really, really real. And it felt, it felt like you were there. And you just heard the news yourself. So, yeah, this is a big news. I mean, this show, not many people die, right? We don't see a lot of death. So this was a big thing this week. And really high stakes as well for him dying. And he's the key to this case to testify. So, yeah, Harvey's really speechless about that. He doesn't know what to say. So then this was interesting. Paula and Donna finally meet. So it was kind of cool. It was interesting. Funny scene, to be honest. And we kind of see Donna. This is my catchphrase here. Donna gets kind of outdonned in a way. I know it sounds weird, but she does, right? Because she tells Paula, I think, the restaurant that he likes or something, and Paula already made a reservation there. She already knew about it. So that was kind of cool. It kind of shows that she's kind of slowly fading away from Harvey, right? She's not working for him anymore. She's kind of on her own agenda. She's maybe got Mark now and whatever. And, so she's kind of slowly losing out on Harvey to Paula. So it was a really interesting scene. I'm glad that, neither of them got mad at each other or anything, because we don't really need that conflict right now with Harvey doing what he's doing right now. He doesn't really need any extra stuff added on. So, yeah. So then this was the kind of like the big scene in this, or maybe scenes in this episode. Harvey confronts Roger Shapiro, and blames him for the Gallo murder. and he's saying you did it or whatever, right? And it's pretty obvious, that he did. How does Gallo just die in his prison cell? Coincidentally on the day that he's about to testify. So Robert then walks in the room all of a sudden, and this is probably the funniest line I've heard from Robert in a while, although he does have quite a few good one-liners. And he walks in the room, he holds out an iPad, he says, "I got something for you to see, and it's not on Netflix." That was just great. I love that. There's some really good back to back here for Harvey and Robert in this episode. Like, just great lines against each other, and they have great chemistry as well. So the video he pulls out is of Frank Gallo, and he's basically telling the truth about how he murdered that guard to cover up for Reform Corp back like a few years ago, I think, or a couple years ago. So yeah, and I really liked the way that they showed the iPad, right? And then we got immersed in that scene where Robert's interviewing him. So that was really cool. That was well done. And Gallo admits that he was the one who murdered the guard himself, and totally exposing Roger and Reform Corp. And then Robert Zane says it's an admissible video because Gallo is now dead, right? If he was alive, that wouldn't have been admissible because it would be attorney-client privilege. So yeah, so that's actually interesting. I didn't know that. So yeah, kind of a cool thing there to know. And so then Robert tells Roger that he wants him to prosecute him. He wants him to get justice for what happened, but he knows that's not going to happen, or at least for many, many years, right? The trial is going to last forever. He's going to appeal, whatever. So he tells Roger, instead, you have to accept the original settlement offer, which was a crazy amount. We don't know how much, but crazy amount. And that he can never do this shit again. So that's what Robert says in it. And yeah, so that's a big thing. And the settlement offer also includes him admitting guilt as well. So that's a big thing. So then Harvey finally gets him to sign an affidavit. So they finally kind of got him there, right? That was kind of like the cherry on top of the whole thing. And yeah, so they finally got this Roger Shapiro and Reform Corp. And he gets this affidavit. Obviously, we don't know what it's for, but we learn later on. So I just like to take this time in saying Paul Schulz, I think is how you pronounce it, who played Frank Gallo. He was, amazing in this show. Honestly, great acting from him. Ever since last season when he came on the show, I didn't like the character, right? Because we're not supposed to. He's a bad guy. But I really liked the way Paul Schulz portrayed the character, Frank Gallo. Really brought him to life. I mean, he really felt, I was, scared when he was on screen in season 6. So yeah, really great acting by him, and that can't go unnoticed, right? I mean, it was just a bittersweet ending to his character on the show, I thought. And by bittersweet, I mean, yeah, he was a bad guy. He probably deserved to die, right? To be honest, he's murdered multiple people. So he's a murderer, and he did kind of deserve to die, right? But the bitter part of that is, he was, for this trial, he was about to testify, and, he kind of became a likable character this season with trying to help Mike and all that stuff. So, yeah, it was a little bit bittersweet ending to the character, but thought it was really great writing for the character throughout the whole series here, last 2 seasons. And yeah, so I just thought I'd say that. I don't think that can go unnoticed, his performance in the show, and kind of sad to see the character go. So that's that. So then, this is another big part. Harvey and Alex confront Tom Bratton, and I didn't see this coming at all. So they force him to resign from his job and to give Alex his affidavit back that Alex signed, saying it was all on him and Tom Bratton had nothing to do with it. And Tom Bratton obviously says no, he's not going to do it. But Harvey shows him Roger Shapiro's signed confession that Tom Bratton was involved in a conspiracy. So this is what the affidavit was that Harvey wanted him to sign. And they basically completely blackmail Tom. He can't really do anything about it, right? I mean, it's a signed confession, right? Like, if that gets out, Tom is done. He's probably going to jail. And so they basically blackmail him, and they make him sign the resignation letter. So, and they actually write it for him and make him sign it. So, yeah, bye bye Tom Bratton, right? I mean, they got him. Finally, they got him. So, that was really good to see. I just hated Tom Bratton, the character. Like, I mean, he's so annoying, right? Always against Harvey, and his whole storyline in episode, I think it was 6 or 5. That was like really, really pissed me off. So, really good to see him go. I feel like we haven't seen the last of him. I feel like he's going to come back. But for now, he's done at Bratton Gould. And that firm may even crash now that he's resigning. So, we'll see. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of aftermath from that, a lot of consequences. So yeah, they succeed in that. So those were kind of the two big things now that they finally beat Reform Corp and Masterson, and that whole storyline's kind of tied up with a bow, right? So then we see Mike go to Robert. He apologizes for letting Rachel go against him, right? And, you know, I don't blame Mike for that at all. I think that was all Rachel's doing. But he is right, you know, apologizing to Robert. He's about to be his father-in-law, right? So, you know, he's got to do what he's got to do. And they toast to Frank Gallo as well, you know, saying, kind of what I said, you know, bittersweet ending to his life. So that was kind of a cool scene. Show, you know, a lot of sympathy from Mike and Robert both. And then Mike goes to see his daughter and gives her the check that was meant for her that he was going to give Frank earlier in the season for him not testifying or something. I guess it was for a lot of money, right? So he tells her that, you know, Frank was a decent guy, right? And that's really all she wanted to hear. Or that's all, you know, Frank wanted her to hear. So really warm moment to see that. Just classic Mike, right? You know, having sympathy like that. You know, his parents dying is a big catalyst for how he acts now. And he knows, you know, what it feels like to lose someone and multiple people. So, yeah, so really warm moment there that he went to the daughter. He didn't have to at all, right? And that money, I think, is even his own money. So, yeah, that'll really help her out. And yeah, he does something good for Frank Gallo. And he really didn't have to, because, I mean, Frank almost killed him in Season 6. So, yeah, it was pretty big there. So then, to end off this episode, we saw Lewis and Donna both going to the hotel to meet, you know, Lewis for Sheila and Donna for Mark. And it was really cool. Same hotel, just different floors. It looked like that Sheila and Mark were on. So yeah, it was really cool, honestly, that it was actually like the same hotel. The chance of that, right? Like pretty slim. I guess maybe there's one big hotel in like where the firm is, where they all live. So yeah, I thought it was really well done montages of them making their way there. You know, kind of walking. And there was great music as well, as there always is in Suits, right? A really great music soundtrack. And there's a great song in it as well. I'll be playing that at the end of the review. But yeah, great song in that scene where they're kind of walking up, making their way to the room. So then finally Donna gets to Mark, and Rachel texts her, right? So it kind of threw her off a little bit, and she says, "Hope you have fun," or something like that. And she ends up telling him she can't do it. You know, she can't go through with this with him, and she ends up leaving. So that was kind of surprising. I thought that she would go in for sure. She, you know, all dressed up. She's ready for it. But she says, you know, I can't, and she leaves. Which just shows, you know, the morality that Donna has. You know, obviously it's wrong what she's doing, and she's able to find that out. And then Lewis gets to Sheila and walks in right away. Like, you know, we knew that Lewis was going to do it. Like, you know, of course, right? Of course he did it. So he decides to go through that with Sheila, of course. He can't help himself, right? And yeah, so it was just a funny scene for me, because I was like, yeah, of course he would, right? Like, yeah, because we saw Donna say no and leave. Even after that, like, I knew that Lewis was going in that room, one way or another, right? So, anyways, cool ending to the episode, and I liked, like I said before, that both these characters are getting these storylines. Felt like, you know, making them relevant again in the show. Not that they're not relevant, right? We can still get a lot of screen time for both of them. Just, you know, they haven't really been involved in the bigger picture storyline this season. And yeah, so also this episode, I'd just like to touch on that Mike wasn't actually in a lot of it. This is the first episode that we haven't seen a lot of Mike. It was mainly just Harvey and Robert. and then Donna and Lewis. Really, I mean, we didn't really see Mike. I think we saw him in the first scene, maybe one scene in the middle-ish, and then he at the end, the bathroom scene, and with Robert at the end. That was about it. So kind of unfortunate, for an episode 100 that he wasn't in it much. But yeah, so now I'll get to my rating for this episode. I'm gonna give it a 4.8 out of 5. Now, this is a pretty high rating. I think my highest for Suits so far. Maybe, yeah, I think it's tied with another one. So yeah, I thought it was a really good episode. Like I said, I really like the Dawn and Lewis parallel storylines throughout. I like that. They finally resolved the Reform Corp Masterson storyline here with Alex. I like that Robert Zane came back, right, and was the guy who helped them, figure it out and finally, solve it. I like the compassion he showed as well in it, Robert. Yeah, I mean, I thought, everything was good. The way they tied it all up with getting Tom Bratton as well. They didn't have to do that, but I thought it was really cool. And I liked how Harvey and Alex both went there and did it instead of just Harvey. So Alex got some closure there. So that was good. And they couldn't have done, a Frank Gallo death better. I think it was a bittersweet ending to the character. And the way they did it was good. I did like that, they didn't really show the scene of him actually dying in the prison. I didn't really need to see that. And especially with this show, it's a drama, yes, but it's not that kind of drama. So I like that they kind of just told us that instead of showed us that. And yeah, so Paul Schulz as Frank did a great job. And he did a great job in this episode too. So yeah. So 4.8. I will say though, for episode 100, I was a little disappointed. I thought, episode 100, I've seen 2 other episode 100s before. I think I said this last week. Scandal episode 100, that was, really, really good. It basically didn't even have any storyline in it. It was just, flashbacks and a, really great way of telling, basically what would have happened if the decision changed and the show went in a different direction. So it was really cool, right? But for this episode 100, they decided to stick with the storyline, keep going with the season. And I don't know, I was a little bit disappointed in it. I thought, there was going to be some big stuff. Yeah, Sheila came back, Mark came back, Robert was in it. Yeah, we did have some characters coming back. We had Paula in it as well. So we basically had the whole cast in this one. And Frank as well. So we basically had like the whole main cast for this season in it. I don't know. I would have liked to see some flashbacks maybe of more of the day that Mike got to Harvey, the interview. Like I would have loved to see flashbacks from that day before he got into the interview. The whole episode just be that, right? Just be the flashback of Mike's day with Trevor, have him come back. That would have been amazing. I mean, I would have loved that. Yeah, we take a week break from the story, but I would have been fine with that. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. A little bit disappointing. But overall, great episode, right? But just in terms of an episode 100, just a little bit underwhelming. My favorite character for this is going to be Robert Zane. Now, I know he's a recurring character, but I thought I'd put him in this one so I can talk about him. He's played by Wendell Pierce, and he's been in and out of the show a lot. Usually he's in it for a few episodes, then few episodes off. And this season he's been in it, I think, 2 or 3 episodes. So, yeah, that's usually about his average. And he does a great job as Robert Zane. Some of his works include he was in The Wire. Now, I haven't seen that show, but I've heard it's amazing. So he was in that, and quite a few episodes in The Wire as well. And he was also in The Odd Couple. I haven't heard of that one, but it's also pretty popular as well. So, Wendell Pierce, great actor. He's doing great as Robert. And I just love the way that, Robert came in. He stuck to his beliefs, though, but he still helped Harvey in the end. And so I just really liked this episode. And Robert Zane kind of helped it out, right? And Harvey also was great in this as well, as he always is. But I thought I'd switch it up and talk about a little bit about Robert Zane. So hopefully we get a little bit more of him. I'm thinking that he will be in the second half of season 7, because my prediction is we're going to see the wedding with Rachel and Mike, hopefully. So he'll come back there for some storyline. And we haven't seen Rachel's mom though in a while. Like I'd probably say like 2 seasons ago. So maybe she'll come back then as well. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this review of Suits episode 100. And we'll see if they reach another 100. I don't think so, but we'll have to see. Anyways, so thank you again for watching. Thanks for the support on the videos lately. And yeah, so we'll see you next week for Suits Season 7, Episode 9. Only 2 episodes left of this first half.